and welcome back to another installment of But Why Though Reviews. You know me, my name is Swara. I'm a contributor to But Why Though, and I am so excited to be joined by both, well, first, our wonderful guest, my friend Preeti Chhibber. She's an author, writer. She's done so much over the years. Preeti, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. Excited to talk about this movie.
As are we. Also joining us is, you know him, he's our senior editor at But Why Though. Jason, how's it going, man?
Going swell, ready to talk about some good movieage.
Yes, and right off the bat, this is an amazing movie. I'm just diving right in. This is Nita Manzoor's Polite Society, a kick-ass Desi martial arts epic comedy that I cannot personally. Diving straight into it. I cannot say enough great things about this film. I love it so much. But basically, we're gonna start off with a synopsis. It takes place in London, focusing on a Pakistani British family, the Khans, and particularly these two sisters named Ria, played by Priya Kansara, and Lena, played by Ritu Arya. Now, these are sisters who love the arts. For Ria, it's all about becoming a stunt woman, and for Lena, it's all about the visual arts. But as pressures come, as we see in the film, Lena finds herself engaged, and Ria, who does not want her sister to conform in any sort of way, relentlessly tries to get her out of it. But as both sisters go through this journey, they find way more than they would expect without giving too much away. So I suppose let's start, Preeti. Let's start with you. I remember when we all first saw the trailer for the film, you tweeted out, "Sign me up immediately." So, what were your expectations going into this?
I mean, my expectations are high. The trailer is so good. It's like such a strong trailer, I think, and a tone that we don't often see from movies that feature brown kids. Like it's not this sort of like comedy action. Like the scene where she's in her salwar, that like outfit from the movie, and she's doing like the backflips into the thing. I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. I need more of it. It was great. My expectations were like sky high for this movie.
Honestly, big same. And Jason, what were your expectations like?
Yes, I think I've been someone that's like really tries not to watch too many trailers lately because I find that they all ruin every movie. And so even when I'm like at a theater and they force you to see them beforehand, I kind of tone them out. But I remember seeing the preview for this movie either right before Everything Everywhere All at Once, or the like next movie I saw in a theater after that. This was like back in February, so like recently. But I saw the trailer and I'm like, well, that looks like a lot of fun and pretty darn funny, and didn't really like look anything else up about it. Didn't have a clue what the plot was about until I showed up at the theater to see the movie. Just knew that it was a movie that looked funny and was about people who don't usually get to make movies that are funny, and with kung fu and karate, whatever, else this movie just throws at you as you start going into it. So my expectations were not huge, other than that I figured I'd have a good time, but I was certainly glad for what we got.
As are we. So we're gonna keep this review non-spoiler. We're reviewing it right before its opening weekend. So, Preeti, just right off the bat, what did you like or love about this film?
I loved that, I was watching it. I watched it at home. My whole family watched it together, probably about 2 weeks ago. And while I was watching, I was like, this is like the perfect mashup of like, there's like a little bit of like South Asian film, obviously. There's a little bit of like Kung Fu Hustle, which I really loved, like the absurdity of the action and the comedy that was like laced through all the fight scenes. There's some like title card Wes Anderson-y stuff going on. It was this like really wonderful sort of like mixture of a movie that came out, but at the heart of it was about these sisters. And so there's this like wonderful emotional depth as well. And like every single person in this movie is flawed in some capacity, but you're rooting so hard for these girls, and you're rooting so hard for this like wonderful sisterhood to continue and succeed despite everything that this world is throwing at them. So like there's so much I liked about it. There's one particular scene I want to highlight, which I like DM'd Swara about. I was like, this is so good. Because there's a moment where, you know, when I watched the trailer, I noticed this. Ria is wearing this like green outfit at the wedding, and I was like, oh man, that looks really familiar. There's like something that it's making me think of this like Madhuri Dixit costume from Devdas, which is this like 2002 Bollywood movie. And then there's this moment that happens, and like spoiler free, yes, but like she like, sort of like is like supposed to do this dance, and the scene starts, and everyone in my family was like, oh my God. And then she like harkens Madhuri Dixit in this beautiful way that recontextualizes this song from this 21-year-old Indian movie. It was so good. I'm like obsessed. I want a side-by-side of those two scenes so badly.
Oh, you know, someone on YouTube is going to make that
I
once
know,
it's
I'm
out on streaming
waiting.
and stuff. Yeah. Come on, Dissies, get to it. And Jason, what were some things you liked about the film or loved about the film?
Yeah, the first thing that hit me was I loved how it just very quickly made itself clear that this is a farce. Like this is meant to be like to the extreme, but with the way that it does its action in many of its instances to be really over exaggerated, very obviously computer generated stuff going on, and like it does it in a way that makes you laugh at it, and I love that about it. But the thing, I mentioned this in my review on But Why Though, is that subtly was really cool to me was the way that it also takes some like horror tropey things and turns them into comedy parts. There are many instances where you'll find Ria like slam up against a window and be like in a very horror movie kind of intention, or the score will drop into like very creepy tones when certain characters pop on screen, or when certain interactions are happening between certain characters, and the way that it takes all of those very like clear markers of horror during parts of the movie before you actually have any clue what the plot really actually is about to be was a really cool way of being able to make me laugh a lot while like hinting at the way that the movie's going to go later.
Yeah, Preeti, you look like you wanted to respond to something in there.
No, it's just exciting. You're right. Like, I think that's really, I think one thing that I just enjoyed so much was how many different sort of influences or like mishmash of genres that we got to see in this one movie, where you're like this, and in doing so, like created something new, it felt like.
10,000%. Nida Manzoor is a genius. I love her work so much. From when, like 2 years ago, I watched We Are Lady Parts on Peacock, which everyone should watch. It is incredible. The most wonderful Muslim representation, like one of the top I've ever seen. It's so incredible. And what she does so well in her writing and directing is she allows Black and brown characters that she's created to be messy, compelling. What I love so much about Ria, as played by Priya Kansara, who, by the way, Priya Kansara,
So
absolute
good.
star.
Put her in
So
everything.
good. Absolutely. Just she's extraordinary in this film. I hope she gets nominated for awards. I hope it gets all the awards. I want this movie to get all the awards. But yeah, Ria is such a relentless character. That's what I love so much about her, is that even though like people in the film are telling her that she's wrong, or that she's misguided on certain things, and that she's going down a reckless path, you know, she tries to take it in, but she's still very flawed because she has this relentless conviction that she's in the right on things. And I was like, I feel that. I can relate to this so much. And I think especially as a brown person, you just, in so many ways, the world tells you, the world tries to gaslight you of like how you're wrong about something, and you know how you need to conform. But Ria is just, again, relentless. And you know, again, without giving too much away, I think, it's fair to say, her family isn't the highest on her wanting to be a stunt woman. They're like, oh, this is like a pipe dream. What are you doing? And like, essentially, they say to her, you should be doctor, lawyer, engineer, without being so over on that. And that was like super relatable. But what I love so much about Nida's writing in she never, obviously, as a Pakistani Muslim British person herself, she never resorts in any sort of way to stereotype. She's very smart and keen about that. She balances out so well in having these various brown and Muslim characters be informed by their identities, but never hampered down by them or feeling like it's because of their identities they can't do anything more, but is just informed by it. And I love Nida's work so much. This film, I believe it's the first of her great work that we're going to see from her as a film director and writer. And again, I love this movie so much.
When another thing I loved about the way that it's written like that is, yeah, like Ria, in the very beginning, you have those hints of like, you must be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, etc. And I was like, assumed, because that was one of the first jokes that gets made, that that's what the movie was going to be about, but it's not at all. It's totally like, it's clearly that character, that Ria, is informed by all of those very stereotypical and familiar pressures, but she's internalized them, and she's the one making the jokes about it, and not her parents, who are really just end up being funny and sweet characters, and not the typical nagging type of immigrant parents you might get in a lot of these types of comedies. I also in the writing too, I don't know how this happened, but this movie possesses one of the best Mazel Tov drops of character ever has uttered in a movie. I like, where does it come from? Why is a British character saying Mazel Tov at the dinner table? I don't know. I know a lot of Brits. They don't use that in like regular parlance all the time. It was so funny because it was like so clearly something she would say as this character who has a very like clearly a little out of the ordinary kind of verbiage that she uses, but like it came out of nowhere. I'm clearly was the only Jewish person in the theater because I laughed hysterically. There was a second one later on too. I'm like, where did this come from in the script? Who gave these Jewish terms to the writing team? But it was so funny.
I also think it's because Ria herself, she's a big fan of cinema in general. Like, I think that Nida transferred a lot of her own love of cinema and the homages she makes to other films, and like, maybe hearing Mazel Tov, but also like the homages to martial arts films, like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. If you saw it in her room, like she has a poster of that, and it's just like Nida has done her research so well. So it started transitioning now, the action, and I personally really loved it. I loved just how messy it was, how we see in the beginning, Ria start out, trying to do these stunts, messing up at those, but she gets increasingly better as the film goes on, as the stakes go higher. And I personally felt like it was thrilling. I thought there were some really great cuts in there, some really great acrobatics, and yeah, I loved it. And the dance scenes. Oh my God. Again, without giving too much away.
I can't get over it. I can't get over that scene. No, I agree with you. I brought up Kung Fu Hustle earlier because I thought it was like one of the first things I thought of while watching one of the earlier action sequences, because like you said, Jason, it does show you really quickly how sort of like it's going to take this to the point of absurdity. It's going to take this to this very like heightened level in just how hard the action went, and like how destructive it was in an otherwise like sort of contemporary regular setting, to the point where it's just so funny. Like it uses the action in multiple ways, both for this like exciting, like this girl is like this great fighter, right? It's this like really fun young kid who wants to be a stunt person, and we get to see her do these cool moves, but also like as a comedy bit, it's so smart. And then using the setting and using the culture to like just sort of amplify how well that action can be done in sequences where we get to see all the like color and the beauty and the music and all of it like combined into this really incredible thing.
Yeah, I mean, I say it all the time. Like, the more specific culturally a movie can get, the more relatable it's going to be, and the better it's going to be because it's choosing to it's making choices. The colors, the costuming, especially in the second half, like the little niche jokes, like all of those elements, when you really are just being extra specifically expressing your own cultural experience, helps make any movie instantly better to me.
Finding the universal in the specific. That is the mark of an
Exactly.
outstanding storyteller that Nida Manzoor is. We talked a lot about Ria. I also want to talk a little bit about Lena and Ritu Arya. Amazing actress. She's outstanding on Umbrella Academy. Love what she brought here. Like, we got to see so much of her range here. Ritu is like an amazing actress, and just like, yeah, I mean, again, without giving too much away,
it's a hard conversation to have.
She has some scenes of despairing about like her own self. It's hard conversation to have. Yes.
Yeah.
She has like some moments of despair of like whether or not she's a good enough artist, and it's just like, again, so relatable. I loved it.
No, Ritu Arya is so good. And just having these two sisters sort of who exist with these like deep passions and what it means, like when you try so hard and you think you're failing, and what it means when you try so hard and you're unwilling, like you're stubborn to a fault, right? But that stubbornness like comes through and saves you in the end. Like there's so many pieces of it that allow for these characters to exist in this like sort of heightened absurd situation as like very real people.
Yeah, the sibling dynamic and centerpiece of this movie was so real, and so the best part of it, of all the best parts of it, because everything's the best part. Just like especially to me, the just unconditional love and support that they have for one another, despite all of the fighting, squabbling, beating each other up that happens. Like, they still, at the core, this is a movie about two sisters that just really care about each other and want to support each other. And again, similar like I said about the parents, like I feel like often that's not what you're getting in a movie about siblings. You're getting them fighting and like not coming together in the way that these siblings, like clearly from the first second, are so much just there for each other, both physically, like as siblings, and emotionally, and for each other's lives, etc. Like, just so good.
Absolutely co-sign all of that. So, like in our reviews, we have to talk about both what we liked and also what we may have disliked. I'm just gonna say straight off the bat, there was barely anything for me that I didn't like in this film. I gave it an A+ on my Nerds of Color review. I give it a 10 out of 10 in general. But no, I do need to ask Preeti, do you think there's anything better?
You cut off half your question, Sarah.
Oh, sorry. Was there anything you think this film could have done better?
So yeah, there wasn't anything I like disliked, and all of the choices I understood like narratively why they were being made. There's like one, if I had to nitpick, one teeny tiny thing is there's a moment where there was an opportunity, I think, to visibly show sort of like the uncleness of it all, the like uncles sort of like show it rather than like tell us about it, but like how that sort of patriarchy can come into things and visibly show it, that it was very like anti-focused. That, and it's such a minor thing, but it's literally the only thing I can think of, because it is acknowledged, it is, discussed. There was just a moment of like where I could have potentially seen a visual representation of it that we didn't get, which is, and I understand narratively why that choice was made. And that's it. Like that, it's like the most like tiniest of things that like if I had to say something, because overall, same, I just like really thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It was just such a fun thing to experience.
Well, and not including that meant that it got to be an aspirational world where that doesn't impact the story as much. Where like maybe Maybe that's not you know, it's or to me the thing that I did struggle with was with the editing and the way that, for as many amazing action sequences as there were still a lot that cut away from being able to see the full extent of the action. Like, this is a movie literally about a girl who wants to be an action star, and we're not letting her fully display all of the action and capacity that clearly either the actor herself or the stunt folks had, because there were so many of those moments. But then there were a bunch that just, like, I was like, why do you cut away then? I wanted to see the whole thing. And like that would, and I did feel that and mostly in the action scenes, and frankly with the I wish that there was more of the dance scene. Like, it got cut up too much. I wanted more of it. But those are, like, you know, nitpicks. It was still, both of the action and that part and everything else as it went along was still like, it was always still great. So yeah, we're obviously having hard times saying too many
Finding things, I know. It's like finding things we
What?
didn't like is really hard to do.
right, because even in the
Exactly.
things that I'm saying were not perfect, it's just that they weren't perfect. There was still so much greatness in it.
And honestly, some of that can just be an intentional editing choice. For me, I know I totally hear your critique, Jason. I just think, for me, I interpret it as this is part of the messiness of the film, the intentional
Mhm.
messiness of it. And that can go like one way or the other in terms of taste. And that's totally fine. For me, it worked. But I think that, like, will round out our discussion of polite society. So first off, I'd like each of you to give a rating out of 10, and should people, audiences, go out and see it if it is safe for them to do so. So Preeti, how about you?
Yeah, like a million out of 10, 100% go see it
Yes,
if you feel safe
yes.
going to see it. Like, watch it as soon as you can. It's so good. And the soundtrack, I didn't mention the
Oh my
soundtrack.
God,
The
yes,
soundtrack is
so good.
outstanding.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, obviously go see it. Go see it twice. Go
Yeah.
bring a friend with you. You know, it's a great time. I probably will see it again.
Excellent. And for me, I'm gonna outdo Preeti and say 1,000,001 out of 10.
Okay. All right. Typical
Jason,
Uncle G.
And absolutely 100% people, please go and see it. I love this film so much. And, you know, like, just because, you know, some of us are like super positive on it, you know, mileage may vary here and there. You know, Jason had some valid critiques and want to be open to that, but also please give this movie your money. Please. We need more of this. We need more
It's
from
so
Nida
good.
Manzoor in films like this. It's so good.
Yeah, I
And
didn't give it a perfect score in my review, but I
yeah,
didn't. You know, but it's awesome. Like, go see it twice.
exactly. And I think that will do it for this discussion of Nida Manzoor's Polite Society, out in theaters April 28th. You know, it may even be out tonight, Thursday 27th, when we're recording this. But please go see it this weekend. Please support it any way you can. And Preeti, thank you so much for being on with us today. How can people find you online? And is there anything you'd like to plug? Maybe a
There
certain Webby Boy book or something?
there is. Yeah, you can find me on basically all socials at Run with Skizzers, Skizzers. And my second Spider-Man book is coming out in September. It's called Spider-Man's Bad Connection and is available for pre-order. And I guess I'm in an anthology. This is more related, I think, to what we were talking about, called Magic Without Borders. That is all South Asian storytelling, and that comes out May 23rd and is also available for pre-order.
Heck yeah, go pre-order all the things. You can catch me largely at But Why Though, editing everyone else's stuff, writing my own things, editing the podcast, occasionally writing for other publications, doing Jewish media criticism, got a new piece at Hey Alma coming out soon about a really fun Jewish sibling band that everyone should go and see while they're on tour right now. And I'm flatter_you on the Twitters. If you are so brave as to go there these days, it's FLATTER_YOU.
You know, I saw like a meme of like why we're stuck on Twitter, and it was basically this crap at the bottom of the ocean and just saying we're just dealing with the pressure, the darkness, and we're just stuck here. So that's
It's
basically
true.
how we are with Twitter right now. Y'all can find me on Twitter at Spider Swars. I'm on Instagram at Swarzy_8. I co-host a podcast called The Middle Geeks that covers any and all things Swana/Mina representation. We're under the Nerds of Color Podcast Network, which is also where Daisy Geek Girls, Preeti's podcast is.
Which I did not mention.
I got you.
Thank
there.
you.
And y'all can check out my work on But Why Though, Nerds of Color, IO9, other websites, and then the New Era. And yeah, so please check out my work over there. And thank you so much for listening, and take care, everyone. Bye.